Just a brief introduction. I don't think they need introductions, but yes. KV Sridhar is the founder and chief creative officer of Hyper Collective and an ASCII board member with 45 plus years of in marketing, advertising, and technology. He's the global chief creative officer at Nihilent Limited and founder of Hyper Collective. He holds a BSc in botany, chemistry, and zoology, and is a recipient of Creative Achievement Award. Renowned for merging creativity and technology, he crafts impactful stories driving business outcomes. And Ashwini Iyer Tiwari, she's a filmmaker, former advertising professional. She gained acclaim directing films like Neel Batte Sannata and Bareli Ki Barfi. With a background in advertising at Leo Burnett, she transitioned into filmmaking, winning accolades, including the Filmfare Award for Best Director. Ashwini is also a published author and co-founder of Earth Sky Pictures. And the conversation was moderated by Gokul Krishnamurthy. Gokul is an independent marketing consultant and columnist, co-founder and group consulting editor of Uplift Media News for You, and the editor of the Free Press Journal Brand Sutra. Thank you.
Now, two very, very creative people with us, Namaskar and Sridhar Garu and Aishwarya. Both of them are here. And Gokul is there. I can't see him. Pooja? I saw Ashwini. Sorry, I called her Aishwarya, right? Ashwini and...
It's right here.
Yeah, Gokul. So over to the three of you. Yeah. Pooja, is it possible to have three of them together?
Yes,
no. Yeah. And you can take out all the other videos. Hi, Ashwini.
Are we on?
Hello.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, three of them. Good.
You didn't respond, Ashwini. You are Aishwarya now.
Sorry. You know, not only do I forget names, but I give new names also. That is my specialty.
Makes things interesting in online conferences, these things. So thank you, Dr. Charda. So we have here with us an accomplished creative veteran, an accomplished advertising person turned filmmaker. And I guess the intent behind this session, as I've been briefed, is to learn from your expertise and for you to reflect on how influencers can weave in messages on gender in their communication. Briefly put. Now, influencers are a very different breed. We used to be influencers at one point in time, filmmakers, editors, advertising, creative directors. We used to be influencers at one point in time. We still are, but there are these hundreds and thousands of creators sitting all around us who can, they have an influence on even our influential work. So they, in a sense, are far more powerful than some of us. But then the intent, as I said, is for them to be able to learn from your experience on how they can weave in messages on gender communication. Let's start with Ashwini, also known as Aishwarya, on how to choose themes for stories and blogs which could be entertaining yet convey a message, given the duration challenges that many of them have, attention challenges that consumers have. So what would be the themes of stories and blogs that could allow for such sensitive messaging, Ashwin?
I do feel that the first thing, I think all of us have to be very mindful every time we're putting a post out. And I'm not purely talking about the advertising thing, because we have a lot of influencers here, and Instagram being the main tool of communication for a lot of influencers, and YouTube and Facebook, if I may say so. I do feel that the voice of reasoning and why we are saying certain things about women and how do we showcase that is very, very important. So to be very mindful about the kind of words we use. I am a big a fan of positive imagery. So even though I state a problem in terms of that that I need to educate a girl child, but at the same time, I will show a hope there, rather than making it very morose or making it very documentarish or stating the problem and then asking, now how could this be solved? I would rather state the problem, but then show a brighter side to it and show a positive side to it, so that the world is full of problems, and we uh, predominantly as a nation want to encourage women more and more into various spectrums and various fields of where we are. And it will be always nice to just have, like, see the goodness in everything and start celebrating that. The moment I feel that influencers state a problem and then um, go on and on about it, just stating the problem and not finding a solution to it, is where I understand that that starts a lot of debate, and that also has a lot of clickbaits. But from that, it's also very important to show the brighter side. So that's where I would have always my starting point. And also, I think it is very important to be real, to be very focused on the realism of how we are representing women, um, of various communities and of various social strata of society. How do we represent them, and how mindful we are in elevating and celebrating them, is what I would always want to see.
Wonderful, wonderful opening remarks. Keeping it positive, don't just point at the problems, keeping it real, look at solutions, and authenticity, I think, is something many people have spoken about. Talking about positives, Sridhar sir, the opening remarks that I would request you to make are actually very relevant to influencers, many of whom have to create very short form content. So, how do advertising professionals manage to keep it so beautiful and so yet so hard hitting in 30 seconds or 60 seconds? What is the magic to it, and what can influencers take from that?
See, I believe it does not matter the length of the content which you create. It could just be a single frame. When we started communicating with people, we used to get, one print ad, one picture to communicate everything. So one frame, we're not talking about a second, second will have 24, 25, whatever it may be today. But what goes behind your thinking? The first thing which I need to tell all the young influencers is we are more powerful than governments. We are more powerful than the richest people in the world. Because as communicators, as creators, as influencers, we have the power to change the way people think and behave. If only we were to discover the true power of our content, what we speak to people and how it can change the entire world. So if we were to understand that power, then comes in the responsibility, correct? If you understand the power, for so many years, you probably your generation may not have seen it, must have heard. At one point in time, India was a burden to the world. In 1970, I remember vividly and wrote an article about that in my college magazine. Time magazine has put a sack full of grains and then had millions of rats, rodents, coming and then eating that. And then it says, this is what India is going to do to the world. There will not be enough grains if Indians were to be fed. There's so many at that time. We are not 1.6 million people, we are hardly 300 to 400 million people. So the power of those images, that image of Time magazine, we took many years to really, erase that image in the minds of people. Till 1990, that's the image of India in the eyes of the world. One image published by one magazine has ruined 40 years of struggle, for us to find a place. So it is all about the images, the communication, and then what we do. Another thing I talk much more closer home, not Time magazine did. What government of India did, population was a huge burden to us. So they said we need to cut down on population before even Sanjay Gandhi did his whatever, forcible acts. The government believed before that all the family advertising, family planning advertising used to be a husband and wife with a huge basket on their head. In the basket, there used to be children, 4, 5 little babies and children. So that was the image, which was portrayed post-independent India. From there, during Indira Gandhi's time in mid-60s to late, mid-70s to late 80s, Hum Do Hamare Do. Then we had this one man and his wife, and then 2 children, 1 boy, 1 girl. It did tremendously for the country to really cut down on the population, birth control. Whether it was forcibly done or whether it was done because of the need or because of education, that's not the point, but it has made a great impact on people. At the same time, today, looking back and then looking at that, it also made a great negative impact on our society. Because that one still image, for many years, almost 3 decades now, we have been idealizing a family as a boy and girl. So we are not allowing the second girl to live in a family. Ideally, everybody wants a boy and a girl. So knowingly and unknowingly, whatever we say, it affects a generation of people, probably more than a generation of people, where these images, these words, and then the little things which we create will have a deeper impact. First thing we need to understand that that if you have 10 people following you, you're responsible for that 10 people whom you're influencing, 10, 100 million, 10 other. So you need to be a little more careful and then think 10 times before you post anything. Once you post, you can't take it back. So that is one thing which I urge people, that does not matter what is the length and what is the format, where you are posting, how you are posting, whether it is personal in nature, whether it is professional in nature, think, because what we do reflects who we are. It is our culture, our thinking is what we are reflecting in every comment which we make, every like and every share which we do. So it's a reflection of oneself. So look at, if you are influencers, you are in a position to influence 10 people, 20 people, million people, 2 million people, or even just one more person in your life. So you need to think twice what you are advising, what you are asking them to do. So nobody sets out, because I come from very commercial content, which is commissioned by a client and a lot of money is involved on that. They put crores of money in actually supporting that piece of work. So it is, a lot of money involved and a lot of brands and everything. So when you are writing or creating a content, you have white paper in front of you, or you have a blank screen in front of you. What do I do? So what do I do? Your mind is capable of making billions of connections per second. We don't remember all that. We only remember when you actually pen down, maybe 5, 3, in whatever thought process, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, or 5 minutes, which you are thinking about it. and out of which you pick one and then do it. And if you are not satisfied, you go on to think a little more time and then put it down. When you are putting it down and then say that this is what I want to pursue, doing it, take a half a step back and then say that is this what I wanted to share as my view, my personality, and the message which I want to do. You don't have to go like a activist saying that, I'll embrace this and I'll be like an activist. And only activists, can, as Ashwini was saying, it's true. Activists will raise the problem. They will not give a solution. As content creators, as creative people, we can find a solution. What do you want people to think and then feel after seeing my content? What is the response which we seek from them? If you were to think about that, I want people to say that, I never thought there are two commercials which pieces of work which these guys have shared with me before. The Gokul has shared, I think Gokul has shared those two. You can cast a boy, you can cast a girl, you can cast somebody, a different gender. So you can, make a choice when you have a story, and then you say that, how do I tell the story? Whose perspective I want to tell the story? The first thing is more different story which you tell, more people will be interested in doing that. So that's the first point. It won't be boring and engaging because you're doing something different. So that itself will get you whatever you want, your primary objective of getting the attention of people. Having got the attention of people, what is the story which you wanted to weave? And what is that which you wanted to communicate? What is the response which you want? So communication is all about after you see a picture, an ad, a post, anything, if anything is left in your head, that's the reason why communication is art of pursuing things. And how persuasive your message is, it should linger in your head for a little more time. It should make you discomfortable whenever you think about that, because somebody has triggered something in my head. Unless I do something about it, I should not be at rest. So, all these are the triggers which we can imagine, when you are making a choice. I want to post this, I want to not post it. I want to correct this, I do not want to correct this. I want to touch this subject, I don't want to touch this subject. Even if I had done this, what way I want to do it? Like Ashwini say, you don't have to be serious about it. You don't have to take the voice of an activist. Correct? It can be lighthearted. It can be something, it can just be a casting decision. Does not matter, boy, girl, or somebody else. What does it matter if you have got a scholarship, you have got a scholarship. If somebody is celebrating, throwing a party, it could be a boy, it could be a girl, it could be somebody, is something else. It really does not matter who's doing that. Correct? It is most important is to really bring in, that emotion which you wanted to create. So I will only say it, length does not matter. What really matters is your maturity, your sensitivity, your value system. And then what do you want to communicate? And then influencing does not mean number of people follow you. It is not number of people like your content. Number of people remember your content and act upon that. How much of mind space you can occupy in their head and how much change you can make it happen in their behavior. That's the greatest power. Even Bill Gates does not have it. Adani, Ambani do not have it. You and I are gifted with that to understand human behavior and make an alteration in that behavior. That's the power the creators have got. It takes, one film, one feature film to trigger many people. Why not? A housewife go and then pursue her career once that 5 years or 8 years of motherhood, where you have the responsibility of a child. Panga is all about that. Because that the stories, the story itself is very interesting. Out of that, and then you start asking a question, why not? Isn't it nice somebody to go and achieve. So you can, all those will come out of your own thinking, your personality, your value system. Nobody can enforce or tell you about it. So I don't see any difference between a static Instagram post versus a 13 1 hour episodes, 13 hours of content you produce for OTT. There is no difference. It is all the writer, and when you are writing it, you have certain things in your head, and then you want to cast certain people, make their character, your characters behave in certain way. They should have certain values and do not have certain values. And what is the takeaway which you want from people? So each character, can be different, and then you can do whatever you want to do. First, it's more internal thinking. Then you can put out the content. Just think 10 seconds, 5 seconds. I know we are living in a live world. We just wanted to respond immediately. And then when you are responding, just give that, read again, as we used to do in old days before sending anything. Reread it for grammatic errors. Now nobody bothers about grammatic errors. But just look at your content again and then post it. That's the only thing which I say is the difference in what needs to be done. Sorry, I took time because I have to say it.
But also, I think you've spoken like a seasoned admin, although the point on the duration doesn't matter, the format doesn't matter, those are perfectly valid points. The intent matters. You also mentioned that with the power of even 10 influencers gives you the responsibility to those 10 influencers on what you say. So whether it is 10 or 10,000. And like advertising, if I may, be clear about what you're saying and the action that you want to trigger in your followers or the people reading that message. And what is the message that you're leaving with them, which remains with them after your engagement is done. So a lot of commonalities between advertising, feature films, and influencer content. After all, this is content. Coming to what according to you is the influence of popular culture? How much of the change that we see in cinema, in advertising, with respect to gender? We see a lot of wonderful themes being discussed. How much of it is percolated, do you think, into the influencer space? This question is, let's start with Ashwini. And what kind of influence do you think popular culture has on the influencer content that gets created?
I think the most, and I do not know how many people would agree with me, but the most popular a thing which actually is influenced by influences to the common people is fashion. And I think that's very important also, is because including my mother, who would be watching Instagram and going through Facebook and everything, and would see one influencer who has like put a beautiful sari and has some oxidized bangles and earrings and everything, and that really makes her also want to go maybe buy, or of course influencers also do a lot of branding, and sometimes they're really good ones also. So I feel that to enjoy this culture of what has been happening for centuries in our country as India is very important to rejoice what we have very beautifully put is our textiles and our fashion of what we, instead of aping the West, we are actually, thanks to the influencers, they're actually getting more and more Indian and making Indian clothes fashionable. So the one thing which is definitely fashionable and is fully influenced is fashion, which I feel. The second thing which comes in is about I saw some influencers who were talking about career aspects and how you can, be good in your communication. Those things are very important, is because it's just not about studying now. It's also about how you present yourself and how you are, and this is mostly catering to a lot of for me, a small town India is the future of India, and for me, every woman from every corner of this country, from small town India is who are the ones who are progressive, are the ones who are the dreamers, and to influence them and to make them confident enough to face this world will be very nice when I see influencers who are promoting more of that. For me, the greatest influencers were uh, were the stay-at-home women who were cooking from home and making YouTube videos. And I think during COVID, they were the ones whom I was and everyone was watching the most. So if they could do it, and their cookery shows are seen, that makes them also a great influencer. So cookery show, people love watching women cooking and having this, and there are various methods in which it's happening. So that is something again which is a great influence. And of course you have conversation starters, you have communication about women, about strength, about their psychology, which is a part and parcel. But I would really urge all influencers to really be as Indian as they can, and to like really wear this young India on their sleeves, to 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 just be real and to just be themselves. So it is okay to not have a pasta, but it is okay to have sabji roti and still feel very great about it after an exam. So that's where I would come from.
Sure. So if I can just add to the question, maybe I wasn't clear. So we take out from what you're saying, fashion is huge, food is huge, the greatest influencers,
Huge.
and the future of India being small town, and those homemakers who did those food videos tells us a lot about what kind of content gets consumed and whom we want to celebrate.
Yeah, that's
So-
that's consumed by all age groups. So even a 16-year-old woman is watching it, and or a 16-year-old girl is watching it. So I
Sure.
think that is what is important.
Right. No, so my original question was, maybe I didn't word it correctly, was do you see influence of popular culture from cinema, from advertising, etc., having an influence on the content created by influencers?
Yes, I do feel that happens is because what we create as storytellers, whether it is in advertising, we usually tell stories according to the changing insights of human behavior and consumer insights for a brand. And it's very important that the more and more we focus on encouraging women as characters in our storytelling, it just starts influencing this, because cinema does influence everyone around us, including influencers. So it is really nice. I like to see influencers dissecting a character from the 1980s and then in 2003, and talking about why this character as a woman said this, or what was her impact, or how did the man create an impact on the woman. So there are these discussions which are happening, and I think those are great discussions, is because storytellers have, like Pop said, have the we have the baton to change thinking. We can create more storytellers in their own way, in their own thinking, and it does impact some person somewhere.
Sure.
So, for example, when I made Panga, there was a lot of men who called me and told me, I'm not going to I'm going to take my wife for this film because she's going to like really, wohi belan se mujhe maregi. So
Right.
it is important for those kind of things also to happen. Yeah.
Sure. Sridhar sir, do you want to add to that on the influence of popular culture on influencer content?
Of course, there will always be, if you take each era has its own influence, on everything. You take movies, magazines, politics, cinema, theater, film songs. Each era, has its own very distinct. Every 12 years, one generation changes, And if you curate the stuff every 12 years, you see quite a lot of difference, because your own mind, your perception, the way you are living, you are surrounded by something. In 70s, I remember that when we were coming out from teenage to the real world, the problem is jobs. There is no jobs. Either you get a government job or you don't. There is not too many things which we were to look at. And then our influences those days were political leaders and socialism, communism. I almost joined Naxalites because of the socialistic nature of the society, which pushes you, all the angry students, that we don't have a future, and then we need to make a future, we need to change something. So politically, socially, culturally, religiously, economically, there are a lot of influences on us as individuals. The way we grow up, the way we consume news, the way we consume entertainment, the way, it's all upbringing, friends together, and then we start evolving every day. And then that is when each one is a reflection of another. You see, in 17s, the paintings of M.F. Hussain is a reflection of angry young man, Amitabh Bachchan, and then the political emergency, and then the political upheaval which is happening, the Cuban War which was happening. So everything will have, the poets were more rebellious that time. So everything, has its own way. Today also, it's the same thing, but thank God that this generation has, last 10 years, I have seen far more positive content in the public spaces. Before that, 10, 15 years back, we did not have so much of video content. People used to put a Facebook post, not a video. People were shy of leaving a phone message also. You don't want to talk to a dead phone. And voice was nothing, absolutely nothing. So today you see freely, so thanks to TikTok, which revolutionized, even at the rural India also, women, men, old people, everybody together making TikTok videos. So we are no more camera shy. The moment you are no more camera shy, you don't mind the content going public. So you found a freedom and comfort with yourself to make a video. Second, you're proud enough to put that in the public forum, correct? So the comfort with ourselves has become, far greater today than any other time. Otherwise, you will only have achievers talking about how they weigh and then what they are doing. So you will not have had, common people coming in and putting their experiences, their opinions in the public space. But at the same time, we also need to realize that this social media is a small bubble in a small world of mini metros and metros. So there is a larger section of India, almost 80% of India, which is connected still with television and feature films. So the impact of feature film and then television content is very high. And then you see far more progressive content in feature films or the OTT urban films. Both have created the huge content, but the films which are influencing the larger population of the country are still, or the television soaps which are actually influencing a larger section of Indian audiences are still untouched, unchanged. When we started this journey of maybe 15, 20 years back, one of the things which I have taken mandate in advertising to change a boy to girl, Ashwini is very much part of that. And we're able to today see much more sensitive advertising about girls. Even I used to fight with the boys in the agency also, don't go and then play cricket. Then what will happen to the girls who don't play cricket? correct? You can't go and then sit in a Madira bar and then drink and brainstorm about work. You're not including the other teams. So, if you were to be sensitive, and then you can make things in a workplace, things are changing. A lot of things here are changing, but television, feature films, able to go and then meet all the people whom I knew and able to convince them that, just characterize them, don't show a woman only for serving tea and coffee. Let her do something which is more than, let her participate in a debate or discussion or a family decision making. That will have a deeper impact than, making her as a heroine and then do a Jhansi Lakshmi Bai film, which people are not willing to do. But within the family, how can you make her as part of the home discussions? Don't throw her away. Take, even whether you finally take a call based on her input or not, make her part of the family. That itself was a Hercules task to really speak to a lot of screenwriters and directors to include women in a sensitive way, because it's a commercial field. Somebody is putting in money, their formulas. There are certain actresses they don't like doing. There are so many factors, but still we have overcome that. Today, I'm very proud that a lot more sensitive films are coming in the area. And where I'm completely disappointed was the television. I tried very hard with all the television channels and all the creative directors who were working at that point in time. This was around 2008, 9, 10, when the television war was there, colors to a lot of new channels came in and everybody was fighting on that prime time, soap time. So that time, we tried even cutting progressive promo videos, because one of the things which I believe is even if you were to have a progressive portrayal on a promo video, it will influence people, because a lot of people, including men, see the promos, not the actual show. Correct. So we tried all kinds of things, unable to make a dent, and today also, I'm very sad that it's the only area where we are not progressive enough in terms of portrayal of women, and then the gender bias. Aadha cup दूध बेटा को देना, बेटी को कुछ नहीं मिलेगा, because she doesn't need any of that. Son needs energy, and then he has to steady. A lot of, if you go to rural India, you see all these kind of discrepancies, and then the bias towards that. Only way those can be changed is through mass mediums. I don't know, right now it is penetrating a little more, but you guys, as influencers, and then you will get your own analytics, from which part of the country your content is coming, your following is coming. And then if you were to aim that following and then try to create some content which can attract the people who are coming from smaller places, then probably, you will also make little inroads, and then you will also be able to create a positive impact on those smaller areas also, where the impact is much lesser. So, there is definitely what is happening around you has an impact on what you do, and then the way your thinking is. And then we are part of that already. And what we can do with your own conscience is, whatever you are able to perceive and create ideology in your head, you try to pass it on and then influence for other people. So it is just influencing the influencers. You'll have a lot of people who will become influencers, who themselves were influencers. It's an old saying, if you educate a girl, you educated the entire family. Correct? It's the same thing. You influence one person who can influence 10 other people. It's a chain.
Wonderful, well put, sir. I think the point about television is very, very relevant. But to give the devil its due, you see Viacom 18 Colors launching a show on an abandoned girl child and partnering with the Ministry of Child and Women, whatever, Women's and Children's Ministry, and to promote their helpline through the show about abandoned girl children. On the same network, or I don't know, some other network, I was asking my colleagues here to give me some examples of some a really vast representation of women that they've seen in the recent past. And the first example that came was from television. I'm sitting in Chennai and somebody gave me the example of Kamal Hassan hosted Big Boss, no less, where there is a male, contestant who speaks about a female contestant and says, she's not my type because her body is built like a Kambali, the equivalent in Tamil. So, Velakari, as they say. So, I was appalled and shocked to hear that this is actually happening on television and still happening in today's day and age. So, the point both of you made being that popular culture does have an influence on influencers and the content they make. So, popular culture has its good, bad, and the ugly. So, in terms of influencers, what can they, how do they ensure that they take in only the good when, while for all good intents and purposes, numbers do matter. And we know we've got a filmmaker here, so we know the more negative and scathing the film reviews, the better the numbers are, and therefore we see a number of film influencers, film critics, so-called critics and reviewers who have cropped up overnight. So if influencers are living in this challenge, how do they speak the language of good? How do they ensure that they stay on that path? A brand has a compulsion to look good and do good. How does an influencer regulate himself or herself, especially on gender? Who wants to go first?
See, I mean, you can't enforce in a, as you know, I'm also a board member of ASCI. A lot of industry and government bodies, you cannot enforce anything, there are certain things which are legal, legal can be enforced. Though that's a minority, 1%, 2%, law can enforce. 99% is moral. So morality, nobody can teach and enforce morality. So that's the reason why your upbringing, your own values, your own knowledge, your own perception of the world molds your behavior and then molds, influences your own work. You cannot really distinguish between, this is my work and then this is my personal life. This is what I do in my personal life and this is what I do in my private life. So I even know, I don't want to name, but even news publications, and I would put, I don't want to take even the medium, where they're forced to take certain side because of whatever compulsions, but they're still struggling to come towards the center and then take a point of view of voicing what is right. But it is always, if you are running something where you're forced to commit, the wrong things, and even then, there's a conscience to you. Okay. You as an individual, you try, as much as you can with your own thing to make a difference and then to make. So there will be compulsion. There will be compulsions all around, for everything. So one way is how do we judge somebody's morality? We cannot. It has to come from within. I can't say that this is morally wrong. You should not do it. Who are you to judge? Correct. It is up to the creators. And I think if you look at all the people, you have been influencers for very, very long time, or where they have huge influence. They've been consistent with their values. They're not consistent with anything else. They're consistent with their values. So those values are you imbibe, not genetically. You will not. We have seen certain businessmen where their previous generation conducted businesses in an honest, transparent way, in the next generation coming and then taking the dishonest route to really do that. So certain things which we can't, and it has to come from within, and you cannot, how many rules government can put? Let's see, already today, you cannot run an ad without 3 disclaimers. And for creative people, there is a rule book, do's and don'ts from every authority. Correct? You cannot, you cannot. So it is up to the conscience of the person who's creating the content to really feel that what is ethically correct, what is morally correct, what is legally correct, and then make a distinction, and then put out the content accordingly. That is when you actually can make, somebody once told me in a client's office that, Pops, all these good things will not make people really react. I said, 99% of the people are optimists, and then they are good people. It is only 1%, who are very bad. So even if you put the content, put that to perspective, in their own office, I had put a tweet saying that, ex-businessman has constructed the most expensive bungalow for himself, and ex-businessman, without taking the name, has given 10% of his earnings to an educational purpose. And do good was the hashtag. And there was tremendous, 2,000 responses came in immediately. That was under my personal handle, not even a client's handle. Just to prove that if you have a point of view, you put it bluntly and make people to make a judgment. You are not saying X is good, Y is bad, but you are leaving it, you are juxtaposing two things, and it is your choice. And then 90% of people will not say that I want to build a great bungalow for myself. As long as I have a decent living space is fine. But at the same time, I want, along with my children, one more other child to also get education. But if you are preachy, they won't take it. Correct? If you leave the choice to them, they'll appreciate you, and then they will respond to that. So it is all about your conscience when you are actually making and then doing that. Don't do it in a way which does not have a point of view. Correct? Every content creator must have a point of view, and then people subscribe to your point of view. And then if you are saying it is okay to have tattoos wherever you want, it's your point of view. And a lot of people subscribe to that. Some people don't subscribe. You don't have to appease to the people who don't subscribe. If you believe, and if you believe that body should be pure and then you should not have tattoos, you go by that. That's your conviction. People respect you for your point of view, not to appease people. So do the things which you believe strongly, and people will follow for that belief. And that is what I need, because all the people who were following, not creating, are looking for some kind of endorsement of their view from a third person. That is where the influencer content will come, whether it is a feature film, or whether it is a theater, or whether it is a radio program, or whether it is a Facebook post or an Instagram reel.
So before we get into the Q&A, I think as a filmmaker, Ashwini, how do you think creators, influencers can actually deal with issues like body positivity, consent, choices, redefining gender roles, and so on, without being preachy? Coming back from Pops's point, you can't be preachy. It's okay to have a point of view. You can't be preachy, but you have to speak, authentically. How do you see influencers? There are two aspects to this. To simplify the question, one is to do great gender empowering work to show emancipation of women and so on. The other is in everyday roles, in everyday conversations, to be a little sensitive in how you portray them. Now, as a creator yourself, what would you tell the influencer world on how they can make a bit of a difference on both these things?
I think the one thing which I should really appreciate all influencers is that they have very beautifully managed body positivity, and that's like a huge applause to all of them. I don't know how many of them are here, but body positivity influencers actually are the ones who have created a huge impact on normal people. Because the normal people, when they start, that's why I said fashion is such a big thing, is because fashion is just not about the new styling or how you can style your clothes or what you could do, but to have influencers who are on the larger side, and to talk about body positivity, and to be very to smile, and to just make sure that they encourage everyone to to be themselves is a huge thing. So great applause for that, is because that is what was needed, is that clothes are not only for some kind of sizes, clothes are for,
Size zero.
and it's for everyone, and everyone who wants to. There's no one who can tell you what you should wear or how you should wear, or what suits you. What suits you is what you feel like wearing that day. I think that's a huge applause to everyone out there. The second thing which I feel is that unlike making a movie which takes about a year, and there's so much more which goes into it, as influencers, there is so much more you could do, because the medium is very instant. And if I would just request all influencers to just like every week take up one topic and rejoice that topic, which creates a lot of positive impact for women, and women just not from a particular class of society, but women across society. So even if it is like having your house help who does multiple jobs, and I think she's the one who's always very happy, and I do not know how they get so much of positivity and happiness from that. There's so much we can learn from them, that they do so much. They get up at 5 in the morning, they go do their housework, but then they still come, they get dressed, they wear their gajra, they'll come home, they'll do the work and still be happy, smiling, and never say a no. How do they do that? So I think it would be really nice for influencers to every week choose one person who they feel has influenced them, or and not necessarily everything has to be in English. It can be in the language they're most comfortable in. So it is really nice to see just not Hindi and English, but to also see influencers talking in the language they would like. So, for example, there's this amazing Gujarati rap which has happened right now, which V has also picked it up and is actually it's actually there in advertising for the Diwali ad. Who would have thought, that would become so famous? It's sung by this young girl who's a lead singer. And I do feel that that's where it should be, that we focus on that. I see very few influencers, very few influencers who focus on women writing. It is only the literary world who does that. I would love if social influencers who are mainstream influencers who also talk about women writers and books which are influenced, so that we also encourage the habit of writing. What is an Instagram post? It's just not about the video, it's also about what you're posting out there.
Right.
So it would be really nice to do that. I would also request influencers to be, which I've always spoken about, is that there is a reality and then there is a video reality. To be as close to reality, I know everyone wants to look good on camera and everyone wants to make sure that they're out best there, but influencers can have a positive impact on society in itself, and they can also have sometimes a negative influence also, that I'm not good enough. So I would love influencers. Like, I remember a very beautiful post of Sonam Kapoor which she had put like years back, where she had very nicely, and no one, I don't think so, I told her to do it. She just wrote it as because she is an actress and every day she has to be at her best when she's in front of camera, or she's going out, or she's in the media. And how quickly everyone can sham with the kind of clothes you wear, or how you are, or what kind of makeup you put. There is a negative influence for everyone. There's a point of view in everyone and everything people do and people are nowadays. So what she had put is like, that for this one look which I create, I have like 15 people helping me. So just be yourself, but for me, this is needed is because that's my job, that's my business, that's my profession. But don't get influenced in that, why am I not good enough? But understand that what it could be for me to be to me my best version of myself in my own space. Competition is a huge thing amongst influencers, and I think it's very important to just make sure that everyone is following their own path and their journey, to just make sure, because people believe what you say. They believe it. They will go and use even the makeup product which you use and say, okay, if she has used it and her lipstick is so looking so beautiful, or eyes are looking so beautiful, I'm also going to go and buy it. So it is a very responsible profession as an influencer. So responsibility comes with when you're responsible, and this kind of, when you have hundreds of people looking at you and listening to you every day, that comes with a lot of responsibility.
Wonderful. Sridhar sir, I think we're running out of time. Dr. Sharda can let us know. Should we move to the questions? Would you want to add something, sir, before we move on?
I think, talking about sensitive towards the body shaming, or the tone of the skin and stuff like that, whether it is fortunate or unfortunate that because of my profession I got stuck to beauty creams, especially products like whitening cream like Fair and Lovely for many years. And I've been involved with fairness creams from almost 91 to I don't know, till 2014. So it's long time, different brands, different companies, different thing. So always it's very uncomfortable zone when you're commercially, for your profession, if you have to do that it transforms you, makes you beautiful. कोई दूल्हा आएगा, मुझे घोड़े पे बिठाएगा राजकुमार और ले जाएगा, become fairer, and everything happens, selling the mince and bone stories and fairy tales to everyone. Very, very, uncomfortable zone to be able to do that. When you get the first opportunity to make a difference, you grab it and then you try to make it. We had one in the year 2001, 2002, when we could actually, 2000, I think, 2000, when we had an opportunity of leaving the marriage. The marriage is not the only thing, in a girl's life. And then making her insecure that you are dark, and then therefore you will never get a bridegroom, and you are cursed, and then you will live like that. Forget about small towns, even big towns. Everywhere, that's very, very big in South India, Bihar, even parts of North India too, where we think that it's fairer. One of the largest exports, apart from Bangladesh, the fairness creams is also Russia, out of all countries. But when you had an opportunity, and then we twisted and saying that only if women were to discover their own talent, they will become more desirable to men rather than looking good. Because that point in time, I remember that especially traveled to some 8 cities, 8 small towns across the country, sitting with the research group, talking to young women, talking to mothers, talking to parents, talking to prospective boys who wanted to get married. So we came back, and then I have asked the research agency to go back and ask one more question. There was not that much of online polling or Google sheets that time. So they did it in 3 centers. I've asked them to twist the question and then say that ask people, all the boys, who are the most beautiful women in his life. And I have asked the mothers also to say that who are the three most beautiful women in your life. And we have asked the girls also who are the most three beautiful women in their life. So the answer is not Aishwarya Rai. The answer is not Shushmita Sen. The answer here is not Lisa Ray or any of those. People started writing their own mother, grandmother, their mother, their daughter, granddaughter. So the way we look and the way we create the stimulus, the answers will come because of the stimulus. People respond to the stimulus which you ask. And Balki and I shifted the conversation from just becoming fair to discovering your own talent. Of course, later they started abusing that also, and then started beauty pageants and all. The first one which we did was a boy falls in love with a girl. Only listening to her singing, he never gets to see her face, and he falls in love with her, through terrace in Chennai. It was one of those terrace loves where the singing teacher comes and then she sings, but he never gets a glimpse of the girl. He falls in love with her voice. So sometimes the content which you put, if you were to make looking good is desirable, good looking girls as desirable, then your mind will always search for good looking girls. If you say that talent, you love music and then you find somebody who loves music, who loves reading and who loves interacting with people, who loves to laugh, who loves to enjoy life, then you start searching for those qualities in the girls, whom you wanted to, or the vice versa. So the moment, you change, things, if your mother were to be the most beautiful person, why not as a fashion designer, as a fashion stylist, style her and then celebrate her during the fashion week? Correct? You're a fashion designer, you have a mom, you have a wife, you have a daughter, correct? And whatever way you can, if you can really take the biases, and then the beauty is something which you see in your head. Close your eyes and then see it in your head. And if you make beauty not physical but emotional, then suddenly it changes. So that is one of the things which I'm very very pleased that you see the content of people unabashedly celebrating their mothers, celebrating even the stars who do not look good, South Indian stars or North Indian stars. It is not the body color, which anyway. Because at one point in time, Rajnikant used to have jokes on himself about his color. But today you see Dhanush and then you see all the other actors, it's not racist anymore. It's not stereotyping anymore. There's a lot of change which is happening. You need to be little sensitive when you are actually creating that content. Who's the ideal person? Correct. So the ideal person does not have a heart and then have a robotic heart. Will you even, you can't even have a cup of tea with them. Correct. You have all the six packs and then you are done. Correct. What will happen? Nothing. Correct. It is just that, the compatibility, the liveliness, and then the common passions, and how the people get connected with a lot of things. All these are very rich subjects when you actually dig deep, forget the differences and find the commonalities. Probably you will find a better and richer ground. And
I
then
think one of the biggest, I was just going, reading something, and one of the magazine editors, there was something called All About Beauty or something, some conference which was held recently. And there was a very beautiful line which one of the fashion influencers and stylists, I think Anaita Arjania, who someone I think definitely should be spoken to. She said that brown skin has never been researched across the world. we have never been our point of distinction, or our how we could look at ourselves is always against white skin, or African skin. But brown skin has never been discussed, has never been a part of any discussion. So there is no enough research at all.
Somehow,
And so, like, for influencers to start talking about brown skin, about to be an apologetically brown skin, to surface that is, I think, very, very important. Because let's not the let's not hide away from the fact that on Instagram, on any of the social influencers thing, everyone is the most talked about thing is always beauty and fashion and how you look. There is no two ways about it, or any challenges there, is because that is what is always talked about. I would request influencers to encourage brown skin, to encourage the idea of and some of the fashion influencers like Anaita, like this woman who has opened her own magazine called The Word. They've all been doing some amazing work where they're only talking about how white hair is good, how brown skin is good, how pimples are okay, how double chins are fine, how a flab is fine.
Nice. Lovely. I think sorry, sir. Do you want to say something?
No, I think, as she was talking about fashion, there was a time when even white skin was not good enough globally, and more so with Indian fashion in 19s, where people used to go after Brazilian, skin, which is tanned and little browner in shade. So a lot of fashion models at that time across the world, including a lot of Indian commercials also. We were not okay at that point in time. Models like Nina Manuel or Anu. I don't recall all the names that time, but they were okay with little darker skin, coming from exotic places. Brazil was one of the biggest, South Africa, Brazil. So these kind of places. So we have never looked at, even, very nice to see the other day, Fab India or some other fashion online store has a lot of darker skin girls wearing beautiful costumes and stuff like that. So it is an important factor. The color of skin is also a bit of an issue in the fashion industry, and we need to confront. As I said, every man is beautiful, irrespective of the skin color. So every not just women, even men also. For that matter, how many men who are there who are darker skin, who are celebrated as popular pin-up poster boys? Very few. So color of the skin, all the biases, whatever the biases which are there, I'm not talking just about gender, but all the biases which are there, still we are living in a city like Bombay, where it is very difficult if you're not Hindu to get an apartment for rent. What are we talking about? If you're a single girl, working woman, you will not get an apartment to live unless there are 30 assurances which are being given to them. So there are a lot of biases which are there, and influences play a large role in shifting those. So I mean, it's a subject which you can go on. More is less here, but like Ashwini started with eternal optimism that a lot of good things are happening. A lot of good things are happening, and as an older person, I can only say that I'm more greedy. I want more things to happen so that I can see in my lifetime more changes coming in. But we are at a very good place, as Gokul has said, is that enough? Is that change which has happened is enough? Not. But certainly we started a good journey, and believe me, even countries like US, Europe, and Latin American countries to multi-race countries, all the countries which have got people from different races and religions are finding the same issues and same problem. We are no different. Statistics say that 60% of the world wealth is created by women, both rural and urban women. And not even 20% of global wealth is owned by women. So women create more wealth and then they keep less and then give it back to the world to claim that it is their wealth. So they are big-hearted, and we deserve to applaud them, and then we deserve to put them in a place where they should be owning 60% of the wealth, 60% of power, and 60% of everything, because they are more than men in every respect. So I just wanted to end there and open to anyone asking me any questions.
Yeah, just before we open to questions, thank you, Rashmi, thank you, Pops. I believe from one unsubstantiated source that women also, account for a larger share of influencer marketing earnings on a per head basis. So maybe richly deserved as well.
Yeah.
Thank you. Should we open this up to questions now? And how are the more questions posed to the speakers, Dr. Sharda or someone from Population First?
Yes, we can open it up to questions. Participants can unmute themselves and ask if they want to, and put it in the chat and we'll take them up.
Yeah, and I request UNFPA team also to ask questions if they have any. No questions? No questions, no observations? Anuja?
No, Sharda, it's been a very, very interesting discussion, and I'd only like to sincerely express my gratitude to Sridhar and Ashwini ji and Gokul. I mean, some very, very relevant points on, body shaming, on issues of body image, etc., that came up, skin color, etc. So very interesting, and particularly, points around how is it that the community we are interacting with today, the influencers, can really integrate gender issues in a very subtle manner into what they are doing. So thank you so much for your expert comments. Thank you.
Anybody else from UNFPA would like to say something? Dolly, would you like to say anything? Mr. Sister? Okay, then
I might want to just add that one point that Sridhar raised, which was really very critical, is that it's not really about the length of what one is producing, but you can produce really sensitive content even in a really short time, like 30 seconds to a minute. I mean, that's something we all grapple with, or a lot of people grapple with, and every time we are also internally as UNFPA colleagues looking at putting out something there, we say, oh, how can we do it in in a couple of minutes? But very relevant point you raised there on the length, and Ashwini on how we are transitioning, and how influencers have really played an important role in bringing about the change that we are seeing today. So thank you so much again for those comments.
Yeah, shall we close, Pooja?
If there are no questions, then
There are no questions. Okay.
I would like to, know any influencer who wanted to have a chat. Either we are brilliant or we are too boring for you guys. Anyone wants to take up the challenge and ask something?
I thought influencers will be very talkative and, the conversation would be very interesting and lively. I don't know. You can ask in any language, you can speak in any language, and also, yeah, feel free to express your views, positive, negative. It's not necessary that you have to like this program, right?
Absolutely, Sharda. Thank you so much for this insightful, Google Meet. It was first time that we are also experiencing this kind of association with any brand of such sorts. So, of course, everything was pretty much on the, very insightful manner. Everybody have pointed out it was very interactive session as well. So, thank you for the opportunity for us also to, get into this track where we are influencing our followers at this point of time. So this has been an amazing journey with you guys.
Thank you. I'm somehow very much interested in talking to Yatesh. Yatesh, how was the workshop? Is there?
Yes, he's there. Maybe we should open it up for the discussion we were having earlier, Sharda, and having heard experts talk on this. We should probably look at asking colleagues here on how is it that they could look at integrating gender in whatever they're doing, what are the challenges that they would face and how to overcome them. And we could get some insights from, Sridhar, Gokul, Ashwini, all of them here.
Yeah, that's a good idea. So anybody willing to start the conversation? Like Yatesh, आप lifestyle पे काम करते हैं ना?
Yeah, correct.
So how do you think you can integrate any of the messages that we spoke about or whatever Sridhar and Ashwini have spoken? Is it possible at all for you to do that? And what are the challenges in doing it?
Yeah. See, obviously it is possible, but then the brands also want it in a manner that so you should be in a certain, you should have a certain looks, you should look a certain way, then only your content gets approved. So for example, if I get more brands, I get it because the way I look or the way I can speak. So what happens is even the brands are not ready to take people who are not very I would say not very attractive or may not be able to say their information in a very good manner. So that's the major difference, that the brand also like discriminate people on the basis of that. And apart from that, what I've noticed that basically few influencers, what they're doing is they are promoting obesity in the name of body positivity. So I don't think it's the right way to promote something. Basically, you can have basically a healthy body is something, but then obesity is something else. What happens in the whole strata of body positivity, that people are like promoting obesity also, that being obese is also fine, but I don't think you can not put everything into body positivity because it does not make sense. At the end of the day, you need to have a healthy body and a healthy physique to get your work done. So that's also an influence which is going on a negative side, I think.
If anybody else would like to come in, there was a point of view here, then yes, Preetjot, why don't you come in?
Oh, sorry. Thank you, Yatesh, for that. It's really a very tricky observation. I want to know from Ashwini and Sridhar whether in the name of body positivity, are we promoting unhealthy lifestyles, or what is your take on it? I'm very confused, to tell you frankly.
Yeah, there's two things, one he said about brands are not willing to accept not good looking people. That's one. The second one, which he said in the name of obesity is good. is not bad, it's good. And therefore, it's healthy to be like that and then pass off gym. It all depends. If it is for junk food, and it's okay to be obese, but you have to eat, what you like, then it's in bad taste, So it all depends how you shape your own values and your own point of view on things. Because the brand needs an influencer. It's not the influencer needs the brand, correct? You already have. So you already have an upper hand. So a lot of places where you get into this kind of dilemma, you already have captive audiences, correct? And then you wanted to cast a particular person in that, where a brand is paying you to do that. And if they don't like what you are suggesting, and then are requesting you to do that, by all means do it. At the end of the day, you also have to earn money. And then your consciousness, if it is allows, then by all means do it, but do it in a way that you want to prove the point back to them. So what we do in marketing, if there were to be a conflict like this, we do A/B testing. So A/B testing is, I put the same content with two different stimulus, two different people. So one, I'll put it in one market. The other content, I'll put it in another market, which is what I want to do. For instance, somebody says that mujhe koi, should look beautiful, should have a nice body. And in the other content, no, you need a bubbly girl, does not matter how she looks. And then you take the bubbly girl and create the content on your own. You take the good looking girl, what client wants, and then do that also. Release one in one city, release one, because you can control the geographies. Either you can do it with the permission of the client, or you can do it by yourself. So then the numbers itself will throw up. If one, which is far more fun, bubbly, an average looking girl actually adding to the content, the way client is intended to, the other one, the client is biased to the look of your casting, and then they will understand. Once they understand, then they will start believing you, trusting you, and then leaving those decisions to you rather than they interfering. Have you got my point? Just try it out, test
Yeah,
it,
yeah, correct. So
and then you will see a better result.
sure.
Apologies, I thought we'll take the responses towards the end. So I moved on to Preetjot. Sorry about that. You are.
Ma'am, I have something regarding Yatesh's observation. Can I say it right now?
Yeah.
So, when it's not from a very marketing point of view on how to market it, but from a very moral point of view, the two observations that he made are very contradictory. Where at one point, there's a talk about how brands are biased towards good-looking people, and then you say that a person who is not fitting into the norm, who is a little fat, or as as they say, they are obese or something, and the body positivity movement is to create a space where they can be themselves. It's more about neutrality and just gaining respect for how they are, then promoting something, because they are fat and they look a certain way and they don't see the representation in mainstream media. So they are creating a space for themselves. So I don't think it's really promoting something. It's more of creating a space, because a lot of things that we associate to health are not really about health, and a lot of other factors. So medical things also come into consideration when it's about the body shape. That's just like, I just found those two observations very contradictory to each other.
I thought
Very
they-
good,
yeah,
very
I
good
thought-
observation.
Yeah, I thought they were
I
independent of
also
each other.
feel I also feel that everything we do as an influencer or as a storyteller will always have a positive and a negative side to it. So at one point of time we say that that we should not be body shaming, and at the other side, if we have like influencers being unapologetic about what they are and how they present themselves, or how they're encouraging every young woman to not, for example, my daughter has curly hair, and she comes from the browner skin side, and the first thing which we actually did was that I showed her pictures of girls who are brown skin and who have curly hair, and how they dress up themselves so well is because she would have that kind of thing as a growing up teenager, that there are girls who would be more fairer than her, or who would be the quintessential what you expect from them. So I don't think so. It is how you take it, because not everyone. So there would be a lot of influencers who would be oversized, and sure, they must be going through their own issues, but you cannot judge them because they are being unapologetic about themselves.
Yeah, shall we?
One
Close
more
now?
question, Sharda ji, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Like when we talk about, one is developing a gender sensitive content, but the other thing is whatever existing content we have, how to integrate gender in that. At the same
Yes.
time, for example, the steps, like one is to be having a gender inclusive language, a gender fair language. What are the other these, small steps that as influencers they can take?
Yeah, I think Srini and Sridhar are the best people to answer that.
In whatever content which you are doing, it could be food, it could be fashion, or it could be fun, or you'd be doing about gadgets, or you'd be doing about anything, whatever you do. There is one societal norm, and there is another thing is opposite to societal norm. You don't expect people to do that. Then you take, am I doing by taking the societal norm and then stereotyping it? What would, your mindset and your view about that? If you were to be that, what would you do? Correct. If you were to have that's the reason why I said you need to have your own take and point of view. And even if you're selling, headsets for a personal, entertainment products, how do you do content? Whom do you want to show? What do you want to cast? Do you want, two boys to have fun, or a boy and girl to have fun, or three girls and a boy to have fun? So it is all, at that age, what is important to them, it's a white paper, to you, how do you cast, and then what kind of things, usually what happens, two friends or a boy and girl, correct, or a boy with more appeal, if you have two girls, correct, why not three girls having a fun with a boy? Correct. So it is just that your perception, what angle you wanted to show, what is the content, which you wanted to do it. Are you selling, are you selling music? Are you selling the taste of music? Or are you selling aesthetics driven accessory to people? What are you selling? It's the body rhythm which you are selling. What is the kind of music which you are putting, and whom do you want to cast? How do you want to make that happen? So if there is anything which, to everyone, when we are actually seeing through the camera or thinking that through, why can't we do something which is different? Why can't we have one person with long hair and one person with shorter hair? Or why do you have to show a girl like a girl or a girl like a boy? Or why can't we mix, all three genders, into one? So you always think that, what I should do, depending on the kind of values which you set for yourself. So that is where you can include things. It could be anything. I'm not saying that it needs to be only on gender. It could be on racial discrimination, economic discrimination, body discrimination, or environment concern. Anything, small acts which you put in your content will go a long way. Correct? Even if you're doing with a celebrity and then he's unboxing. So, there's little care about when he's unboxing. Put that unboxed, the material into a dustbin makes a lot of environmental, consciousness to people, because he's putting, and then if he's throwing that away and then only looking at the object, so it becomes, you don't know, when you are creating this, but the impact of seeing all that will be there on the audience, correct? And then these are the things which you need to be sensitive. Once we created a beautiful emotional advertising for McDonald's, but we have forgotten to check the driver of the bus, is not wearing his seat belt, and then we pull that off air and losing so much of money, because it's just that, finally when you do it, having that little check, if you're aware of it, having that little checkbox in your head, and then you'll be able to create content which is and it is all on your consciousness, and then you can integrate anything. There are millions of issues which are there, and then you can integrate any one of the issues. Not necessarily all the time gender will fit in, or you have to force with gender into it. Whatever content which you are doing, anything which is good for the planet, anything which is good for humanity, which propagates a good value, even a simple pat on a dog on the street while walking, makes a lot of difference to the way kindness to stray dogs and animals. So it does not, in your short, it does not mean anything to anyone. But over a period of time, that little gesture, which people see it, makes a whole lot of difference to the viewers. Correct? You got your answer, or been too long?
No, absolutely. I think I did get my answer. Thanks so much for that.
Yeah, it's very important to,
Yeah.
be conscious of the small things also. It's not just about the main protagonist, what is the script, the way you show the ecosystem is also very important. There was one very good ad about a father and son discussing the good points of a mobile phone. And you show the woman, the mother in the background, watering the plants and then moving. Totally, she's part of the background. That is very wrong way of projecting, because why can't she be part of the conversation? Why can't, or why don't you show her in a more as part of the whole context? So these are some things which we generally make mistakes, because we think it is nice to show her in the periphery doing something and not being bothered about this conversation about which mobile phone to buy, or whatever it is between the father and son. So one, it says women are not interested in mobiles or buying mobiles or decisions regarding that, and that men are the ones who decide on mobiles, and they know more about it, whether it is a 15-year-old child or a 50-year-old man. So that is, it's a very subliminal messaging, which is very harmful in a way, because these cute pictures are the ones which cause the maximum damage.
I'm sorry, I will have to leave now because I have.
I'm sorry, we have really kept you for a long time.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Ashwini, and thank you so much, Sridhar Garu. Thanks a lot.
Thank you
And
so
Gokul had to leave a little early. We had some other thing. And thanks all the participants. And please feel free to contact us anytime you have any questions or anything. And Ashwini, you can leave. I just have one small
Before
thing to
I
talk.
think
so much.
Sharda,
Thank you
before
for-
she leaves, I
thank
would
you.
like to just
Yeah.
call upon all the influencers to look at her short film, but Ghar Ki Murgi Dal Barabar. I love it, Ashwini, and I use it in all my training. So I'd
Thank you
really
so much.
encourage all of you to see that.
We have that's very correct. Before the influencers leave, I have to say, what is the ask from you? Can you show that slide, Pooja? So we would like you to incorporate whatever messages you can in your messaging, or you can apart from your regular commercial product promotions, you could also do something. It doesn't matter if you don't get as many likes and views as the other communication, but make something interesting on gender, put it. And third thing is we have something called the 25 days of
The 16
sorry,
days of activism.
16 days of activism, which starts from 25th November and 10th up to 10th December. This is a day which is this is a fortnight which is designated for focusing on issues related to gender-based violence. And we there are many number of days in that. We have the World AIDS Day, Human Rights Day, violence against women. So many days are there. You can pick up any of those and then put some nice content on those days. And I would also like you to, UNFPA would be producing a lot of social media content. I would request all of you to please, we'll share it with you. Please do put it on your platforms. It will help a lot in promoting the content and reaching to the, people you're people who are following you. And similarly, your content, if it is it meets the requirements of the UNFPA, they will be happy to put it on their platforms also. Thank you so much for your time, and thanks a ton, Pooja, Hetal, Anuja, for all the support. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, everyone.
Okay, shall we leave now the meeting?